Good day everyone, welcome to our presentations. First, let me introduce to my groupmates who are Moh Wei Xian 253201, Seong Wai 253925, Kon Hui Xin 254060, and also myself, Mei Syen 255069. Today, our group would like to give our presentations about the research paper with the title Linear Programming on Allocation of Capital in Loan Management. In our research content, we separate it into 5 parts. The first part is about the introductions, which have breakdown of the study, problem statement, research objective, scope of the study, and also the significance of the study scope. Then second part is about the literature review of our study, where we separate into 2 small sections, which are based on the existing problems and also based on the existing method. Next is followed by the methodology of our research, how the data we collect and also the mathematical formulations we apply in this study. The first part of the content is comes to the result and discussions. Then the last part of the content is comes to the conclusion and recommendation. Next, breakdown of our study. Interest on loan products are one of the ways for commercial banks to gain the profits. Loan allocations in any bank is an important dimension of risk management. According to Krasniov's 2018, in loan portfolio management, allocation optimizes capitals to all types of the loan product in order to make sure the profitability, safety, and also liquidity of bank is a difficult decision. Hence, the advance in mathematical modeling such as linear programming and also the goal programming might provide an efficient and systematic solutions on the decision taking. In the problem statement, we mentioned about the COVID-19 pandemic have brought the largest challenge to all the commercial banks in the decisions of allocation capital. Therefore, the success of any bank in this very competitive environment depends largely in the way of bank loan portfolios being well managed. Hence, an effective mathematical method of evaluation in this problem is very important. There are totally 3 research objectives in our study. First, to determine the profitability of a bank from the loan products. Next, to understand the optimal model functions in order to formulate the best feature of the loan products. Lastly, to investigate the helpfulness mathematical model applications in banking. Next, for the scope of study, we investigate one of the portfolio loan management of commercial bank in Malaysia, which is Maybank, and we use at least 20 sources of journal and article as our reference. Besides, we have taken the secondary data such as interest rate of the bank from the annual report. Lastly, we also do some assumptions by referring to the previous journal and article. Significance of the study group. Basically, we interest to find a better management strategy based on the forecasting in order to maximize the profit and minimize the risk for any banks by developing a series of linear programming models. Next, I would like to pass our presentations to my groupmate.
My name is Seong Wai, matter number is 253925, and now I'm going to present about the literature review. In our literature review, we will divide into 2 parts, which are based on existing problem and based on existing method. Based on existing problem, according to Ghana, they state that commercial banks are the main core of the growth of other sector development, as commercial banks are providing credit facility to the other sector development in the form of loan. Based on Mercury scheme, they define that the loan portfolio of a commercial bank as the amount of loan issued by the bank over a certain period of time. And the research of Agrana has found that one of the biggest challenges that most banks are facing is debt. Therefore, CGU state that credit allocation has responsibility to ensure the distribution of loan to various portfolios. Next, in the research of Gupta, he found that it is an obvious fact that the majority of banks operating in Ireland face the complex problem of how to handle their loans in such a way that the bank objectives are being achieved. Organization also found that a significant aspect of investing and finance is the problem of portfolio optimization, which it can impact the major decision maker when allocate the capital into different groups. Therefore, based on Concera, commercial banks should be able to recognize and solve the determinant of their profitability in order to achieve milestone in profitability increment. Through this understanding, organization will only resolve the problem of profit improvement. Next, we will discuss about the literature review based on existing method. Referring to all research, all of the researchers determine and obtain the profitability of loan by using linear programming. However, there are some researchers also apply linear programming in other fields. For example, Mohammadi, Akubaisi, Chalmers, and Hyder. They state that the main function of linear programming is optimizing performance regarding combination of resources, and it can be productively used in many sectors, including conduction of gasoline stock, inception of chemical products, and other sectors. Furthermore, most of the researchers use linear programming to determine the allocation of bank loan, like Jane. They use linear programming technique to determine the maximum profit of a bank and allocate the amount for loans. The aim for this paper is to develop linear programming to optimize profit, focusing mainly on the interest rate of loan. And Agarana also applied linear programming to determine an optimal way in managing the loan portfolio of bank while maximizing the profit. They measure the maximization profit based on the data from the annual report and financial statement of the bank, which include the types of loans, interest rate, and probability of bad debt. But some research also apply goal programming method on bank loan. Agarana and Reddy, both research have applied goal programming to analyze an effective method that can allocate type of loan while optimizing it. Goal programming technique is usually applied to the problem with multiple objectives and criteria. Lastly, Cosmito, Arewa, Halim, and Nadari, among others, have applied goal programming to liability management. The data are gathered from the bank annual financial statement. In the study, there are 6 objectives identified in the bank. An optimizer was developed in a simulation model in order to obtain various optimal solutions. Now, I will pass to my friend to continue the next part.
Good morning, doctor. My name is Moh Wei Xian, matrix number 253201. Today, I would like to talk about the methodology of our study. The method used in our study is linear programming optimization and sensitivity analysis. Linear programming is a technique that aims at optimizing performance regarding combinations of resources. According to Akubaisi, linear programming can often manage the capability of building scenarios through its extensive what-if analysis and sensitivity analysis facilities. Loan portfolio is very important to banks. It decides the investment plan of a bank. The banks always apply linear programming on calculating the maximum profit returns from the loans. So in this paper, a linear programming model has been applied to determine the maximum profit that a bank can obtain from the loan portfolio. Before the calculation, we have made 2 assumptions for this model. The first one is, it is assumed that the maximum profit of the total loan amount of the bank and bank investment is fixed. The second one is, it is assumed that there is a linear relationship among the variables used in this problem. Besides that, there are 8 constraints that we have modified by referring the previous study, which is amounts allocated to the different loan products not more than the total funds, which is 150 billion ringgit. Then we also make the constraint for each of the loans, such as The total amount for home loan, hire purchase loan, and educational loan not more than 60% of the total fund. The total amount of personal loan and car loan not more than 50% of the total fund. The total amount for investment loan is not more than 40% of the total fund, and so on. So the loan that we make it as variables are hire purchase loan, personal loan, home loan, car loan, investment loan, educational loan, and others loan, and refinance. So each of the loan has been defined accordingly from X1 to X8. And the interest rate for the loans is hire purchase loan is 3.4%, personal loan is 7%, home loan is 3.25%, car loans is 3.4%, investment loan is 5%, educational loan is 4.45%, other loans is 4.3%, refinance is 3%. After converting all these variables and constraints, we can convert them into this format as the slide show, so that it can be keyed into computer. We can use the software to do the calculation, which is QM for Windows. And this is the result after we key in all the data and get it from QM for Windows. From the results of QM for Windows, we can conclude that the maximum return of the bank is 8.478 billion ringgit by allocating the amount of 7.5 billion to hire purchase loan, 67.7 billion to personal loan, 7.5 billion to home loan, 7.5 billion to car loan, and 60 billion to business loan. However, none of the amount is allocated in educational loan, refinance loan, and other loans. This may be caused by the educational loan, refinance loan, and the other loans are the loan products that have the least profits of the bank. And that's all for me. Thank you.
My name is Kon Hui Xin, matric number 254060. I will present the following part until the end. For sensitivity analysis, there are two approaches and need to involve, which are the changes in objective functions coefficients and changes in right-hand side. First, there is not every changing in objective function coefficients will cause the optimum solution change. In this case, the coefficients is the interest rate of loan. For x1, its original interest rate is 0.034. Its lower bound is negative infinity and the upper bound is 0.05. This indicates that the fund that is allocated to x1 still is 7.5 billion when its interest rate does not exceed 0.05. For the x2, we use the same logic to interpret. The optimal solutions will remain constant if its interest rate is higher than 0.05. The funds that is allocated to x4 is also remain at 7.5 billion if its interest rate does not exceed 0.07, whereas the fund that is allocated to x5 will remain at 60 billion if the interest rate is between 0.0445 and 0.07. Besides, the funds which are allocated to x3, x7, x6, and x8 unchanged as long as the interest rate of these four loans does not go above 0.05. The second is the changes in right-hand side. The table shows that constraints 1, 3, 4, 6, 7, and 8 does not have the slack and surplus variable. This indicates that those constraints are the binding constraints. Thus, the amount in the right-hand side for those constraints are used up. It also means that if an additional amount is added in right-hand side of constraints 1 and 3, that will increase the profit picture by 0.05 billion and 0.02 billion respectively. whereas the dual values of constraints 1 and 3 is valid if the right-hand side number of the new drive satisfied between 90 billion and 150 billion and between 75 billion and 135 billion respectively. Otherwise, the constraints 6, 7, and 8 have the negative dual values. This means that when the amounts of those right-hand sides increase by 1 billion, the profit picture will be decreased by 0.0175 billion, 0.016 billion, and 0.036 billion respectively. Lastly, since the slight or surplus values of constraints 2 and 5 are greater than 0, it will not make any difference to add an additional amount in right-hand side of a constraint because it will just bring more additional slack or surplus. So, in this case, the bank should allocate more funds, which is 67.5 billion to contribute the home loans and 60 billion to contribute the business loan for maximizing the profit. Besides, there is no need to allocate any funds to education loan, foreign housing loan, and refinance loan for this optimal solution. And we can conclude that linear programming is successful to predict the profit of loan. In this study, the home loans and business loan will contribute more to the profit, and it is lower risk to conduct these two loans. For future study, there are more realistic data and more complex mathematical models are needed. We recommend that financial institutions should use the scientific methods to enhance the business efficiency. The bank in Malaysia should consider this mathematical method in the allocations of funds for loan. Lastly, the training of employees on relevant professional knowledge is needed.